Basically kind of looking at the highlights of the week here. And by the way, this is Andrew Zimmerman from the National Weather Service in Wakefield. Highlights for the upcoming week here. We are looking at a weakening cold front approaches the area this afternoon into this evening. As you can see from the satellite image I had up briefly earlier, we did have, you can see the clouds and some associated showers with that. That activity is gonna largely weaken as it comes east, but there is a potential that you could get an isolated, strong to marginally severe thunderstorm, especially west and northwest of the Richmond metro area later this afternoon into this evening. Looking like timing wise is primarily later in the afternoon, early evening. We're kind of getting to the time of year climatologically. We see storms tend to weaken pretty quickly once you get after 8 p.m. or so. So fairly short window today. We are going to be warmer over the next few days, warming into the upper 80s today, and then upper 80s and some lower 90s as we get to Friday and Saturday. Another cold front will bring some scattered showers and thunderstorms by the time we get to Saturday. And then that again, we could see a few strong to marginally severe thunderstorms with that as well. But we do turn back to below normal temperatures after that cold front on Saturday. With some increased southerly flow ahead of this cold front, looking like tonight, later today into Friday, and especially combined with some higher astronomical high tides with the approach of the full moon, could see some minor tidal flooding, especially on the Chesapeake Bay side of the lower Maryland eastern shore. Are looking at still kind of a moderate risk of rip currents today for those with coastal interests. And then for our marine interests, we do have small craft advisories for the Chesapeake Bay this afternoon into tonight. And then we could see some additional small craft advisories may be necessary as we get later in the weekend, early next week behind that second cold front on Saturday. As you can see here, brief overview, looking at that first cold front that comes in today, weakens, and then essentially dissipates. So we remain warm Friday. Saturday, we see that second cold front approaching, and that moves through, and then we have cool high pressure that builds in from the north and northwest as we get Sunday into Monday. There's our marginal risk area for today. Generally kind of into the west and northwest of the Richmond metro. And really chance as we get into like Southeast Virginia, Northeast North Carolina, really not, and even up into the Virginia Eastern Shore and immediate Maryland coast, really not even expecting anything in the way of shower. So we have been fairly dry recently, so not really looking at much rain to really kind of knock down some of the dust. Main threat for today is damaging wind gusts. Not expecting any issues with tornado or hail. And then you can see the marginal risk area Saturday, primarily with the Eastern Virginia, Piedmont, I-95 corridor, and then over toward the northern neck and maybe portions of the lower Maryland Eastern Shore as well. Rainfall wise, most places aren't going to see much in the way of rainfall. It's just going to be those places that actually get a shower or thunderstorm with some heavier rain. Again, best chances later today, looking mainly dry Friday, and then that next front with additional chances on Saturday. Again, different view there, the rainfall amounts, just kind of reiterating, not looking like a whole lot in the way of rainfall. You can see there in our temperatures that pretty sharp cool off after that second cold front on Saturday. As we see temperatures largely in the 70s as we get Sunday going into the middle of next week. There's our rip current threat, moderate for all beaches today, and then the northern beaches. So kind of there from Assateague up to Ocean City for Friday. There's our tidal flooding threat. Again, this highlighting I mean, main threat around high tide, generally nuisance to minor flooding, maybe a little bit more so some of the low-lying tidal marsh areas there of like southern Dorchester County, Maryland. And then looking ahead into next week, the trend still continues for below normal temperatures and generally near normal precipitation, maybe something along the coast there. Tropical outlook, we have a wave that's showing like a 1 in 2 chance of development over the next 48 hours, and a high chance of this developing into at least a depression really over the next couple of days, potentially tropical storm as well as it moves west to west northwest across the central tropical Atlantic. I did before run into some of the audio issues, I did want to go into a little more detail on this since there is some rumors associated with this system, as some model runs have really kind of gone wild with this. What I want to emphasize here, though, is there's still a lot of uncertainty of how this develops with time. Generally, no threat to the region within the next 7 and at least out to the next 10 days. So it's really still far out till there could be any impact of that, and at this point, that's remains an extremely low probability. But just still something of note to watch over the coming weeks as we are right now in September in the peak of hurricane season. So something to certainly keep an eye on, just given the time of year. There you can see kind of some of marine threats, mainly across the Chesapeake Bay. Some elevated wind and elevated seas across the northern coastal waters, but generally kind of looking below small craft criteria at this point. Then kind of in closing here, summarizing, we got a series of cold fronts coming through the next few days. Bringing some isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms today and Saturday. Both days kind of have a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms, mainly across the western half of the area. And then after a few warm days, temperatures trend back to below normal. And if we do have some 90-degree days here in the coming days, we really haven't had any 90-degree days since mid-August. So that's a reminder that it is still summer. But again, thank you for your time this morning, and I thank you for everyone's patience with the audio issues we have. And have a good day, everyone, and we will be back next Monday for our live briefing. Thanks again, everyone. And let me know if you have any questions.